Donald Trump attacked a black journalist. Trump said that Kamala Harris is not black. The NABJ interview with Trump was horrible. I don't know about all that. Let me tell you what I think. You're listening to Glamorous, a podcast centering the refined, cultured, and connected Black American woman. I am going to give my feedback on the Trump interview that was hosted by the National Association of Black Journalists. Woo! It definitely was an event. And I'm going to start off with just the creation of the event. Personally, I did not find out about it until a few days later, and that was only because of the inflammatory headlines from the mainstream media. And apparently, there was some pushback from some of the members of the NABJ saying that they did not want Trump to attend because he's divisive and too controversial, as well as comments that he's made towards some of the journalists who are black. And then you had people on the opposing side saying, hey, we're journalists. This is a presidential candidate. Why not have the candidate come to our space and give us an opportunity to vet them? And I agree with that. I think that is the best way to go, is to invite every candidate, especially someone like Donald Trump. He is one of the most controversial figures in the world right now, and the way politics is going, it would be an honor to have someone of that prestige. Whether you love him or hate him, it will draw attention to your organization. So I thought that it was a good move, and I think that the NABJ should have did a little bit more to protect the entity. You had a lot of their members who are probably paid by the Democrats and work for more Democratic leaning platforms who really went on like a whole smear campaign, and to me it really took away from the NABJ's position. I think they should have remained neutral. While members as individuals can have their own opinion, you should not let them smear the entity of the NABJ. That should be a neutral zone. So I think first of all, just the smearing that they did in the media as journalists, they should have pushed their weight around a little bit. Lack of presence before the actual incident. You had other what they would call right wing journalists on YouTube who were prepped and ready. They had their media kits ready, and NABJ was nowhere to be found. They started an hour late and we were waiting. They didn't have an MC. There was no one saying, hey, and no courtesy and no etiquette to the people. So I thought they just really started off wrong. Then while we were waiting, they had like this weird 1996 funk jazz music that was just on repeat. It was just really obnoxious. Their graphics were really dated. It just really wasn't a good look. And later, we were able to find out a part of the reason for the hour delay is that they were trying to ambush Trump with this Axios fact check thing. And so while they didn't have time to let us know they were an hour late, they were on Twitter saying, hey, tweet the hashtag NABJ fact check to get real live facts as this interview is going. And come to find out, Trump's camp was not even aware of that. So they were negotiating with him, trying to still get Trump to conduct the interview with this really like shady type of fact check. So that was a part of the delay as well. And so it was starting off wrong. And then when we seen the host, I noticed that there weren't any men. Like they got 3 brown-skinned women, and I'm not even sure that they're black. Like I'm almost sure that the Kadia person is of some sort of sub-Saharan African descent. I think Rachel Scott might be Caribbean, and I think Harris Faulkner is an other too. So just the people that they chose to conduct this very important interview. I mean, it's not like we have very many institutions that Trump is willing to go to, and you would think something like the NABJ that's been around since the 70s, he's reaching across the aisle and you don't even have actual black people. You have a bunch of people with what appears to be foreign heritages. So I really did not like that. So finally, the event starts, and they have the announcers say that, please maintain the same level of professionalism that you would keep at your workplace. Well, too bad they didn't accept their own advice and take their own advice. I mean, the shade started from the moment that the hosts came out onto the stage. So the first two hosts came onto the stage, they were announced, and you can hear the audience applauding, and they had video and everything. Well, as soon as Harris Faulkner, the woman in the red suit, the Fox News reporter, came on, all of a sudden the audio cut. So you could not hear the applause for her. And then they shaded the guest, Donald Trump, and when Trump came onto the stage, they like straight up cut the video feed and then blasted their screen with their logo as Trump was coming in and taking pictures. And I just so happened to have a split screen, so I noticed that I could see Trump on the other media outlets, but they intentionally did not want to show him. So that type of shady, really petty type of stuff, it was just continually just starting to go downhill. And so, of course, from there, the interview begins. And I'm not going to go over each point by point. I'm just going to give my overall view of the overall thing. I mean, you can go through and listen to it. I think Trump did a very good job with his responses as far as speaking for himself, despite what the media is doing after the fact. But overall, I just felt like the questions that they had were irrelevant. They were very gossipy. Like the first question that was asked, well, it really wasn't asked. She just threw a bunch of accusations. Well, you said this about such and such and such and such. Well, why do you think that you should get the black vote? And of course, he read her for the filth. Like, first of all, don't come at me like that because you are an hour late. Then your equipment is not working. And where is the other candidate? You told me that the other candidate would be here. And where is the other candidate? And then she's able to do the Zoom, but you said that I could not do the Zoom. So he did a very good job. And I would encourage you to read that or listen to it from the front or from the beginning into the end. So I just felt that that whole line of questioning was just really gossipy. I don't care what he said about another reporter several years ago, and I don't care what he said about quote unquote people of color. Like, I'm interested in what he's doing for my group. So I felt like a lot of these questions, like the DEI question, what is her name? Rachel, she was saying, well, can you tell the Republicans to stop making DEI comments, about Kamala Harris? Like, who the heck do you think you are? This man, the former president, and potentially could be your president, telling him, well, are you going to tell them to stop talking about her like that? Like, I don't care. And this is what I'm saying. This is why we need some real Black Americans in the room. Like, we're not on some gossipy, petty stuff. Like, well, tell them to stop saying mean things about her. Like, I don't care what he said about her. What policies? Where is the policy information and policy questioning about what we're going to get for Black America? Like, I don't care about what he said. And then this like really gossipy and really petty line of questioning continued with the Kadia person and starting off, well, I'm a cat lady and your vice president made a comment about women without children and cats. How did you feel about that? This is like some blogger type of something that you would see on one of these foreign brown skin blogs. It's just speculation. And, well, he said this. Well, what do you think about this? Like, it was just really in poor taste, especially since you're late, especially since you were rude. And it was just really dumb. And so, my overall with the questions that they picked, I really feel like they were more inflammatory, like accusations, and really trying to get a response and really just trying to get him to say something that could make a headline. So I thought that that was in poor taste, and it really did not get to the questions that Black America, like what we actually cared about. Like they didn't ask questions about the Platinum Plan. Now, we all have been wondering what is up with the Platinum Plan? Is that being offered? What about making Black Americans a protected status? What about grants to start businesses? They talk about jobs a lot, but a lot of Black people, we are very entrepreneurial and we need capital to get started. I would like a Bureau of Aborigine or American Affairs for us, the same way that they have the Bureau of Indian Affairs or some other department specific to our needs where there's funding allocated to us. And other things. They just didn't have anything specific to us. So to me, it was a failed opportunity for Black people in this really like legacy organization that's been around since the 70s to reintroduce themselves into the world and show that, hey, Black journalists, we're open for business. And I also just left feeling like, God, we really have got to free ourselves from these people, these quote unquote gatekeepers. Are not really keeping the gate and letting the right people through the gates to access us. They're really like holding us hostage. Like I really felt like I'm being held hostage by the Democratic Party and their the people that they're paying, their consultants, the people who they're giving money to the nonprofits. Like, I just feel like we are being held hostage by these people. And I really felt like these journalists came in here with an attempt to really sabotage, like they are saboteurs, any possible communication with the former president of the United States and possibly the next president of the United States. It really bothered me. I was like, God, we have to really get away from these people. And I also felt that, overall, of course, Trump really dominated that, even with the weird energy, he came back around and, was trying to level off. I think he was genuinely offended. Like he said, I have too much respect for you guys to show up late. And where's your other candidate? And, you treat me like this. And I think people also forget that, Trump is a man of a certain age. He's a senior in the era he comes from, etiquette and couth. I mean, you can ask tough questions, but the tone and manner in which you do it is important. And I personally think that they brought in three brown skinned women who might try and pass off as Black American women, just so they can be very persnickety and very hostile. And then if he came at them, they'll do what they basically said in the media, like, oh my God, Trump attacked a Black journalist, a female journalist, when really she had big D energy. She had big D energy. So I also think some takeaways that happened from this is that, now people are questioning Kamala's identity. I personally got a call from someone I know. They were like, girl, I didn't know she was not Black. And I'm like, oh my God. Uh, I've been avoiding politics in some of my personal spaces because it can go wrong. But she was like, girl, I did not know that she was not Black. So I had to break it down. So that was good. It opened up some dialogue. Another thing that I took away from this is like a little bit of disappointment. It's like I was saying, we don't have very many institutions and organizations that people can go to that have a large enough reach where they can, speak to Black people. And so these limited opportunities, I just felt like this was squandered. And will Trump want to reach out to us? And if he did, who could he go to? Like, we really don't have anyone. And I think it's time for people who are interested in journalism and the people who do these channels and have these spaces to come off the apps and start to reach the people in the real world, because we need legitimate places where people can come to talk to the Black community. All of our stuff has basically been compromised. So we really need to get started on that. That's not really my realm and what I do. But there are people I think that really have a knack for it. And, I think that they need to just really scale up a bit and become an actual business entity off of these spaces. Another part of the aftermath was that the news, of course, has been trying to blacken her up, trying to dig deep. Y'all, they digging deep, trying to find these moments in time where she said that, my mother was raising black daughters, and I'm going to talk about that because just because your mother was trying to pass you off as a black daughter or as a black woman doesn't mean that you actually are black. Like this idea that I'm going to raise you as black, like what does that mean? Like, how can you raise me as a black person when you're not black? Like, what is blackness to her? And now we're seeing, when she gets on this weird fake Southern black accent, I don't even know what it is. She sounds drunk to me, and then the hand gestures and the neck roll. Is that raising a black, was that was that her blackness idea of blackness? I don't know. But anyway, the media was trying to blacken her up. But what's been very interesting is that the father, Donald Harris, is still very quiet. And I also noticed that Jamaicans have been mighty quiet. It seems like everybody who has been in a confederation and in a conspiracy to pass this woman off as a black American. But another thing that has happened as a result is that Kamala is like becoming raceless. When she went to I think it was the Sigma Gamma Rho, she came out and she was like, you guys helped me to elect Joe Biden, and you also helped to elect me as the first woman VP. So she's not the first black VP. She's not the first black Asian VP. Now she's just a woman. So I think Trump got her all together. So I think that Trump may be our first delineation president. I mean, I really think he set off or set fire or really fanned the flames of what we've been talking about on social media and within the black community. And then, of course, you have the fake black people. They're trying to make Kamala Harris very black because if she ain't black, they don't get to be black. And so you have a lot of these people online trying to say, well, she went to an HBCU and she's a black woman from Oakland. Well, she's actually from Berkeley. Being born at a hospital does not make you from and raised in that area. She was actually raised in white Berkeley next to a few affluent Black American families. There were some little Black enclaves in Berkeley of upper middle class people who had been there since either the early 1900s, I believe. They have a historical society and everything, but she didn't grow up in Black Oakland. She didn't grow up in the Deep East. She didn't grow up in West Oakland or in some of the pockets of North Oakland. She didn't grow up in some of those hill areas, off of 580. She's not a Black woman from Oakland, so they really need to stop. She was born at a hospital in Oakland. And so, and the thing about going to a HBCU, we have all sorts of people that have been going to HBCU. So, they're really trying to make her black. And my final takeaway from this is that black people, y'all, we got to come together. We really are going to have to completely delineate. At this point, you can see we're not going to be able to let people take black. As far as race, we're probably going to have to make race be Negroid so that black can be our ethnic name and black could be the name of our group along with Black American, and all the other, American Negro, all the other names, because if you leave black behind, all these other groups have plans for black. Like, so all these games that people are playing with the closeted Pan-Africanist or the down low Pan-Africanist, talking about trying to change their names and the uppercase names and all this foolishness going around. No, the job is to gatekeep, and we just got the seas parted. Like Donald Trump just parted the sea. He was like, is she black? So you got a whole former president questioning her blackness, and we as Black Americans are still over here divided over who is black. And so my position has always been black. First of all, race really doesn't exist, but black is the non, or really is the non-immigrants at this point. Black equals Black American. Black is not synonymous with Negroid, just like white is not synonymous with Caucasian. And so, just like yellow is not synonymous with Asian. So, black and white is really a legal construct in the United States, and anybody could be white that they want to be white. And you may want to take a peek at my previous video saying that Caribbeans are white in the United States. And you'll hear from the horse's mouth of an Afro-Cuban saying that her paperwork was listed as white. And so this idea that everybody who is of a Negroid phenotype is black is erroneous. And this idea that black is equivalent to West sub-Sahara desert indigenous people, aka West Africans, is incorrect. And we really are going to need to take that name and really start swinging on people. So I think that's the bigger takeaway. I feel like other people are very clear on who is black, because I bet if the government said we're going to kill all the black people tomorrow, all these foreigners would be like, me no black. Boy, everybody would try and not to be black. So that is something that we're going to need to do. But let me know, did you watch the interview, and what did you think about the interview? And let me know, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel and share and tell a friend.